And that was Anger is Creeping by Special Ops here on what I like to refer to as the Blankfest Quebec special edition of Rock and Roll Report Radio here on Drastic Plastic on CKUT 90.3 FM. It is coming up to 10:45 on a very cold Montreal night, which really brings us back to why we're here talking about Blankfest. Let me just get Ken on the line here without screwing this up again. Oh, no.
Did we lose Ken again?
You gotta be kidding me. All right, you know what? We won't do it that way. We won't do it that way.
I'm sure he'll call back again. Oh boy. Anyway, let me plug Blankfest Quebec again, for those who are listening. Blankfest Quebec is going to be happening at Bar Saint Laurent 2 on February 21st. That's a Saturday night. With bands Special Ops, Vinyl Hero, Ashtray, and 50 Star Anger. And Mission's going to be a blanket. So there we go.
We've got Ken on.
Yes.
How are you all doing over there?
Pretty good. You?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Sorry, so we're live on the air?
You are live.
You are live in Montreal.
Hello, Montreal. How are we all doing?
Montreal's doing great.
Yeah, we're great.
Heard it's a little cold there tonight.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things we were talking about. It's kind of a perfect lead into the whole point of Blankfest. You know, you're in New York, and you obviously have very similar climate conditions as we do here in Montreal. Maybe let us know a bit about how Blankfest came about, and you know what it maybe inspired you to come up with the idea, and how it's been going so far.
Well, let's see. It was a few years after I'd gotten out of college. It was actually 1996. And every year I would always read in the newspapers in New York about how you would always find some poor soul freezing to death on the streets of New York. I thought it might be an interesting idea to go collect some blankets from some friends and hand them out. And I figured might as well do it on Christmas Eve, just caught up in the spirit. And I collected 18 blankets from my friends. And we went out, and before midnight we were done, and it felt really well. And the next year, I went back to my friends, and they said, listen, you basically cleaned us out. We don't have any more blankets. And being a musician, I figured, well, we'll throw some of our friends together. We found a club that would put us up for free. And first Blankfest happened in December of 1997. We collected 40 blankets, and we thought we were the bomb back then. And since then, we've expanded. We're in several cities, including for 2 years in a row up in Ontario and Toronto. And this is where I met my good friend Asher, who was doing promotion and publicity for it. He said, let's do something similar for Quebec. And, well, they didn't want to wait till December, so that's why we're going for it now.
Yeah, and we're organizing it, and it's going really well. Community's really on board, so I'm really happy with it.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
No, I've heard a lot of good things, actually. I've got a few friends that live up that way, and they've already seen some stuff in the press, and they've seen some stuff online. So definitely your word's reaching out to people, and that's great, because the more people that are informed, the better the turnout. And, of course, you know, it's not just to raise blankets for the homeless, it's also to raise public awareness, and I think you guys are hitting it on both pistons.
Yeah, and the thing, like we were talking before, the thing that impresses me most with the idea is the simplicity of the whole thing. You know, we all know what's going on in the economy. We all know what's happening with people getting laid off left, right, and center. So, you know, it's very difficult sometimes to ask people to give cash. But everybody's got a blanket. You know, everybody's got an old coat that, you know, might be in a closet somewhere that they never wear. And to have that is the way for them to get into, you know, a show, a great show with a lot of amazing music. It's so simple, but it's like I said, you know, every person that brings in that one blanket, you know, the sum effect is pretty impressive.
Well, yeah, it's many times I think what most people are faced with is they see the problem with the homeless issue, and they feel it's overwhelming. But once you're able to break it down to simple terms like, okay, You got a spare blanket in your closet? Drop it off, and it'll find its mark. It gives people a feeling of empowerment.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the best things are done in kind of in small increments and little baby steps, and this is a really good way to engage people. And let's be honest, your typical rock and roll fan maybe are not as engaged in kind of like the big picture, but this is a really easy way to kind of pull them in. And who knows, once they start, once they kind of their eyes are open to this, who knows where that could lead on each individual.
Absolutely. The best thing about it is that once you give that one blanket and you see how easy it is, then it sort of opens the door up for being able to contribute a little bit more somewhere down the road when you feel most comfortable with it. And pretty soon you find yourself pitching in and actually being part of a community, which is kind of unifying, especially in this modern age where everybody appears to be out for themselves. I don't think people are selfish by nature. I think that they were just basically boxed in,
Right.
And this is a way of showing them there's a way out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody I've mentioned this to, the reaction right away is, what a great idea.
Yeah,
that's the first idea, and the next thing they say is, you know what? I have an old comforter that I don't think I ever use, and as a matter of fact, we've got like a couple of winter coats, and I've got this, and they're writing down these reminders to themselves, and they're shuffling off, and sure enough, I mean, I've mentioned this, I think, at the end of last week, and I've already got a bunch of blankets and sleeping bags and stuff piling up at my place for the 21st. So, it's a really, it's a great way to engage people. And as you say, it's certainly a very straightforward way to build that kind of community spirit, which is something, as much as the internet and everything connects everybody, it still isolates us to some extent. And this is, a great way to not only not only contribute to your community, but to go out and go see a live show. Go out and experience some live rock and roll. Get all sweaty and have a couple of drinks with friends, and stomp around and have a great time and do good.
Well, you touched on another point too. It's like going out to see a show with some great talent. And these bands are very generous. They some of them usually will only play for pay. And the fact that they're just giving up their time for a good cause, I'm always flattered by that, that we're involved with such talent. But the real cool thing is that there is like a lack of competition. Like the bands don't care who gets top billing. They don't care who's in there, or goes on first or whatever. It's just everybody wants to pitch in. And, musicians are like normal people too. I mean, we all feel overwhelmed by the whole issue of the homeless, but in being able to go up and just do something as natural as breathing, for a musician to go up and sing a song that they've written or record it, well, in that respect, then they feel like they're doing something in a small way to help their community. Right.
Yeah, it's a really is a win-win situation for everybody involved. And for those of you, and I know there's a lot of people that listen to the show that are not in Montreal, this is done in conjunction with the Old Brewery Mission, which is a very well-respected and it's been around for, forever. And they do some amazing work. They have, they have a, people, it's essentially people sleep there. They feed the homeless. They are on the front lines of something that is unfortunately plaguing pretty much every major city around. So
when I went to them, they were super excited about this. When I went to go meet Sandrine Guido, who's in charge of certain aspects at the Old Mission Brewery, she's like, wow, this is such a great idea. We're on board. We love this. We'll take we'll take all the blankets. This is just too much. She was really, really happy, and especially she was also happy that it was happening in this month in February, because everybody gets caught up in the holidays,
right?
And they forget after the holidays. And so when she heard this was happening in February too, she was just ecstatic about it. It was really wonderful.
Well, Ken, I got to say, obviously, this wouldn't happen without you and what you and your your buddies have come up with, and got to tip my hat to you. It's like I said, it's just so simple, but it's just makes so much sense. So definitely thanks so much for calling in all the way from Brooklyn, New York. We really appreciate
Brooklyn, New York.
And what we're going to do is we're going to play a track from one of the other bands that is playing on the 21st at Blankfest, Quebec. This is a band called Ashtray, and this is a track called Untamed here on Rock and Roll Report Radio on CKUT 90.3 FM, the Blankfest Quebec edition.
Thank you.